yeah, Albion Online. Oh. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cat Dad Things. Are these things that Cat Dad is into? I don't know, but this Cat Dad today is making another video about Albion Online. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me all the time. People are afraid to die in this game, and I don't know why. Dying is an important part. How so? Because that's how you learn. That's how you get better. So many people, they just hoard all of their gear and they stick to very basic PvP interactions, do tons of PvE, and they never increase their skills. That's an issue. Dying is such a key factor in this game. That's how you get better. In fact, loot sometimes can be referred to as a resource. I know some of the YouTubers and content creators that I've seen, they'll refer to it as ammo. That loot is gained just so it can be lost, not to hoard away, because you'll never get better at this game. So today, I thought I'd make a video on some corrupted dungeon builds. Very cheap, that can start you off so you can get used to dying. Because once you get used to dying in this game, your skills will get so much better. There are so many times where I've come so close to dying, but because I didn't hesitate, because I didn't stop, I ended up winning the fight. And in some of the clips today that I have for us, you'll see in those moments where my enemy, the person I'm fighting in the dungeons, they hesitate or they run, when if they just would have stood their ground, they would have won the fight. So it's important as you go through, maybe you're a new player, maybe you've been playing for a while and you just haven't touched PvP a whole lot. Remember sometimes to stand your ground. Stay calm, stay collected, and don't be afraid of dying. Dying's good. That's how we get better. So let's jump on into that. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like the video to see more Cat Dad things. And here we are in the belly of the beast. So this is the corrupted dungeon, and we're doing it at a stalker level. You know, we don't need to go to Slayer yet because there's no IP cap for that. But for this kind of content, really you can get away with 4-1. 4-2, honestly, if you don't happen to have any spec, but you can still get it accomplished at a 4-1 tier level. So the build is only worth 40k, as I highlighted earlier. It's very cheap, and you can still kill people. Like, you can still win your fights with this build. But if you die, it's not a big deal because you've lost 40k, which is practically nothing in this game. So the build, I made a little list earlier, but I'll kind of briefly run through it again. It's the Hunter Hood, Mercenary Jacket, Soldier Boots, and the champions of this build, Claws. Now, Claws, they're very one-dimensional. They're very predictable. Everyone knows what Claws they're going to do. They know what they're all about, of course. You have some basic dagger abilities, but the E is the main part, Disembowel. It roots your enemy, keeps them locked in place, interrupts spell casting, and it does a lot of damage to them. It also puts on a bleed on them afterward. The problem is it's very easily interruptible. It's also very easily kitable. But again, this video is about being okay with dying. So that's why we're running these cheap sets out. And when you run builds like this, they're nice because it forces you to learn how to play good. Instead of just relying on a super OP, super meta build that's just going to win for you. If you can win with this, you can win with any build. Because again, Claws are very easily countered. People know how to get around them. So when you start getting good with this build, and it's cheap, again, you could start moving on to other things. Or stay with this build and kind of mess around with it. Now, one thing you must remember to do is to change your PvE skills. You definitely don't want to go into a fight with that, just like I did there. So here we're starting off the fight, and this time the opponent had the Royal Shoes, and Royal Shoes have been really used a lot in the metas lately for just rushing in, not even checking the build your opponent has. They just kind of dive in and start fighting, which kind of works for us because this video is about not being afraid to die. So just get in there and start fighting people. But you see right away, she ran into a trap. That's damage. Now, watching this fight, we're just kind of going at it with each other. We're just fighting brute force. She's got her buffs. I put my disembowel on. I used my heal when I needed to. And here's the mistake. She ran into more traps. If I'm confident that if she just stayed and fought me during this time, she would have won. But because she got scared and ran away, she lost the fight. Now, I got a pretty decent chunk of infamy from that. But again, we don't care about infamy. We're just learning how to fight, not being afraid to die. I also got some pretty decent loot as well from this kill. She definitely outgeared me. She had a better build. She should have won, but because she ran away and got scared, she ran into so many traps, and I was able to take the win away. It's so easy. Anyone can do it. You just have to get out there, and you might die a lot at first. But remember, the build was only 40k, so even if we die a couple times, it's really just not a big deal. So now for this fight, I had a slight variation to the build. I've done the Retaliate Hunter Hood for a while. This time I thought I'd use a completely different helmet and also a different skill on my boots. Having the Retaliate on your helmet is good for certain situations, but it's easy to get around. Sometimes people just stop hitting you for a couple seconds and it's over. It does give you some resistances, but the Cleric Cowl gives you Ice Block. Now, if you learn how to use that and you time it just right, you can completely negate someone's big damage ability. Because there's a lot of burst in the Corrupted Dungeons, especially at the lower end, the Stalker level. A lot of burst moves that people do, like one-shots, things like that. So you learn Ice Block, it's fantastic. And you can use it while in CC as well, so it can really save your butt. Now for the Soldier Boots, I switched to Rejuvenating Sprint because I noticed I can usually stay on people, especially with Deadly Swipe, and that Rejuvenating Sprint, it just gives me that little bit of extra HP that people aren't expecting. Almost no one runs that skill in these dungeons, so it's a nice like pocket choice to have. So give it a try. Here we have another lad that just goes in, guns a blade, doesn't even inspect me, and sometimes for Claw that kind of works out. Now I could have ice blocked that E that he did to negate the damage, but it actually works out for me in this case. See how the heal kind of came in clutch with the poison, helped negate that a little bit. So right now during the fight, he popped his giant. He's not very fast, but that's why he ran away, because he's increasing his health pool. But look, he pops his retaliate. I'm not even hitting him. He runs at me and he starts wailing on me. But I'm ready for him. I have resist pot, disembowel, my heal's going off, and ice block. See, what happens here is I got the mob's aggro, but then it kind of worked in my favor because I suffered no damage from him. Now, I think what happened was he came back in. It kind of lagged out, but he came back in to fight me, and the mob actually hit him. And by the time I started wailing on him, he just died. See, when you take your time, you play it slow, use your abilities smart, sometimes your opponent just kill themselves, honestly. So for this build, I decided to go back to having a Hunter Hood for the Retaliate, but I changed the chest piece yet again. I went for a Mage Robe this time. And the reason why Mage Robe is really good is because you have that Purge that's placed on you that gives you resistances at the same time. So when your enemy does damage, it purges all positive effects on them, and you have the increased resistance so you can take a hit at the same time. It's a very good piece of armor, especially because sometimes they just might not sustain you, or they might have a buff that you just can't get through. So again, it's all about timing. You time that purge just right, and you can win the fight. I also thought to myself, I might potentially face a Bow of Badon or some kind of ranged fighter, so I went back to Wanderlust, and sure enough, that's exactly who invades my dungeon, is a Bow of Badon user. Badon, Baden, I don't know, man. I've heard so many different ways that it's said. Badon, Baden, Schmadden, who knows at this point. I'm going to say Badon. If you want to correct me, I'm sure you'll have no problem doing it. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention about the purging effect from the Mage Robe. It doesn't purge heal over time. So lifesteal, like Bloodlust, yes, it'll purge that, but not a heal over time. Alrighty, so he appeared on my screen, and yep, there's the bow user. So at this point, I thought I needed to close the gap as soon as possible. Now, I did that juke because almost every single bow user has that knockback shot that they take on their Q in anticipation for melees. And honestly, I just felt kind of bad for this guy because what happened was he'd use the knockback, I juked it, but then I immediately threw the poison on him so that he would think to himself, oh, he's going to get on me and do extra damage. But I did that as a bait so that he would start running and I could start gearing up my Wanderlust because it takes a while to get to the full speed. But he got so scared that, again, he just ran through 2 traps, which knocked down his HP to about half. And then my Wanderlust was fully ramped up, so I just eat onto him. And then he fired that arrow in the wrong direction anyway. I kind of felt bad for the guy, but that's why it's so important to just stand your ground. Go for the fight. Sometimes it's best to just not hesitate, or you end up dying like that. got me a rare chest. I had to include just a little bit of excitement, little clap dance for getting that nice juicy loots. Well, that's about all I have for today. Just a couple builds you can take into the corrupted dungeons to maybe get some experience, or you can get some nice fame in there, or even win some fights. You never know. This game is pretty fun. You know, you don't have to be afraid of dying. There's a lot that's there. It has to offer. They always say high risk, high reward. And you saw just from the loot itself. And I'm not even playing with premium. Premium gives you a bonus to your loot you get from chests and things like that. I'm not even using it. And I still made tons of money off those fights while risking 40k a set maximum. And I didn't die either. I still have those sets. So it's not that big of a deal. People can really improve their skills just by giving it a try. And it doesn't even have to be the claw build. You can change it, you can use variations, do whatever you want, just have fun with it. Remember, it's just a game. And that's about it. That's all I have for you in this video today. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. And I might make another Albion Online video. I might not. I don't even know at this point, but I'll see you around.